Alright, what's going on everybody? Welcome back to another video here on the channel, and today we're going to be talking about an article that I saw that's absolutely ridiculous. I feel like, recently, especially, there's been like a lot of these articles and things like that coming out talking about absolutely insane things being somehow racist. So for example, back on October 7th, I made a video called Being Smart is Somehow Racist, and it was talking about, this online thing going around where basically saying that if you were placed in gifted classes in like elementary and middle school, that, oh, you weren't actually smart or whatever, you were upholding the systemic racism that these schools wanted, and like a bunch of crazy things like that. And it feels like as time kind of goes on, this is becoming like a more common argument that we're kind of seeing, where people are just taking literally anything and everything and just saying that it's offensive or it's racist or anything like that. Now, obviously, there are plenty of real-world examples of things that are racist. There are plenty of things in real life that are offensive and things should be done about them, but obviously, the ones that we're talking about are just, it's nothing, man. It's people just taking something, finding a way to complain about it, and just basically crying wolf when, of course, there's no goddamn wolf anywhere nearby to cause any sort of harm or problem. And today, we're going to be taking a look at this article called, I Think My Partner's Reason for Suddenly Wanting Kids Might Be Racist. Okay, so I saw that headline and I was like, okay, this has to be an insane article. There has to be something here that kind of brings this together a little bit more, I guess is the best way to phrase it, because I simply don't understand how you could ever determine that this is racist in any way, shape, or form. I mean, let's get real. Off the bat here, what are the odds of somebody marrying you if they're racist? If they have like bad thoughts going on in their head, they don't like a certain group of people, and you happen to participate / exist in that group, doesn't it make sense that a racist wouldn't want to marry somebody under those circumstances, right? Like if you're somebody who hates people who are from, like, I don't know, Europe, odds are you're not gonna want to marry somebody from Europe. If you hate people from Africa, odds are you wouldn't want to actually marry somebody from Africa, because that doesn't really make sense. Why would you spend the rest of your life, supposedly, with someone you genuinely don't even respect? So it's a weird format, I will go ahead and say. So apparently this question was kind of posed to the writer as like a caller / reader submission. And the writer of this article was supposed to respond and give their opinion on everything and kind of help guide this person, I guess, through the thought process, considering that this is something that they were apparently dealing with. Dear Karen Feeding, when my partner and I met several years ago, he agreed with me that it would be irresponsible to have children given the state of the world, particularly with respect to climate change. I've only become more convinced of this as we've watched extreme weather events literally burn down part of our state. But several of our friends have had babies recently, something that I don't approve of, but whatever, and I feel like he's starting to change his mind. Recently, he asked me if I ever thought that the world would be better with more people like us in it, and told me that it would be, quote, dysgenic for us to have not had babies because we're both, quote, smart. Although I scored always very high on standardized tests, I do not believe they are valid measures of anything, and I found this whole line of conversation bizarre and probably racist. Frankly, I thought he was too enlightened to believe such things. I'm currently staying with a friend while I try to decide what to do. Should I break up with him, and if not, how do I make him come to his senses? Signed, Not Breeding. Okay, so I want to go ahead and address this one right off the bat, because this just actually is ridiculous altogether, and I think you guys realize that. This is the person writing in, telling their side of the story or whatnot. And so, I guess when they started being together or whatnot, when they started talking, they both agreed like, hey, we aren't ready for kids, we don't think this is a good idea. And of course, people's opinions change over time. For instance, when I was a teenager, I often thought, yeah, I'm probably not going to have a family when I grow up, because it just seemed like something I wasn't really interested in. I'd rather just kind of like chill by myself or whatever. But dude, as I got older, man, I realized that, that shit's stupid. And I do want to eventually have a family because, I mean, no one wants to die alone, right? Like, that sucks. So, personally, like, that was how my opinion on this kind of changed, and it seems like this guy, too, kind of just, I would rather, have kids. People's opinions do change over time. I mean, new things happen, and it changes your perspective on stuff. And of course, if your friends are all having kids, like, that's gonna be a lot of shock, I guess, to your system when you have these kinds of opinions. And it's kind of insane that he's being treated as if he's like a fucking lunatic for that, right? Like, he's being phrased and almost framed as if he's like in the wrong for this, as if it's wrong to want to have kids. Look, feel free. If you don't want to have kids, by all means, don't, okay? Do what makes you happy. I'm not saying you have to have a family to be satisfied in life or want to have kids to, be worth something, but at the end of the day, man, this kind of mentality is going to extremely limit the amount of people that you can be with, and especially when you're with somebody whose mind is changing, the fact that you can't be a little bit more open-minded than to just want to outright break up, like, that's just crazy to me. I mean, this isn't something you can just talk to him about, right? Like, you can't just, this is the problem, right? Like, instead of just communicating this problem with this guy, she's writing to a fucking blog, hoping that a writer who has never and will never meet her one day in her life, she's hoping that this person can solve the problem for her, and that's not how this should be going. This is a relationship issue. Quit fucking writing somebody else hoping that they'll fix your problem for you. Either A, you talk to your boyfriend/husband as a fucking grown adult would and talk to him about the issue. See if you guys can come to a reasonable conclusion together, or, just leave it as one of those issues in the relationship that need to be worked on down the road. Because at the end of the day, your, stance on this isn't always going to be concrete. Once again, just like with him, shit that could happen to you could change your outcome on this. So the fact that this guy's being vilified for this is insane to me. As being a fucking racist, you've got two different issues percolating here, neither of which, I hate to say it, bodes particularly well for your relationship. When I met my husband, neither of us thought we would have a child either, for a mix of complicated reasons that included climate change as well. We ended up having just one, as Bill McKibben suggests, and while I sometimes despair for what she might experience and for her potential negative impact on the world, I don't generally regret it. There are a million futures she might have and nothing is set in stone. It continues on, but I'm just going to go ahead and cut to the chase here, all of which is to say, you're in a bit of a mess here. Your boyfriend's stated reason for changing his mind strikes me as A, indeed a little bit racist, or at the very least, the kind of thing a person who loves the movie Idiocracy might say to sound smart. Red flag, and B, a sign that either now he's coming to think about the question differently or that his climate-related reasons for not wanting to reproduce were never the same as yours to begin with. You might be able to talk him out of the first stance by explaining to him that, to your ears, this line of argument is upsettingly aligned with some very bad history, and the whole thing sounds alarming coming out of his mouth. Though if he's actually using the word dysgenic, honestly, it sounds to me he was never as serious about the no kids thing as you. A person who writes with such certainty that you don't approve of your friend's babies were. That fact on its own may be a deal breaker. Okay. You know what would be a genuine deal breaker to me personally? If when my mind changed on having children would result in me being called a fucking racist? It doesn't even make any sense, okay? So, what about this is racist? I'm not sure. Is it somehow stereotyping this woman? What stereotype is this dependent on? Because from what she's told us here, and of course, when you think about it, the only burden of evidence here comes from her. She's the only one who gets to talk about the subject. We don't hear from the husband. He doesn't really say anything that comes across as racist, you know what I'm saying? It wasn't like he was making some sort of shitty stereotypical joke, and if he did, you sure seem to admit that fact for some reason, but why are we as a society now going down the path of, oh, well, it's racist to think that you're fucking smart? Like, it comes across as a lot of projected insecurity from these people, like almost just trying to find a way to become a victim, right? Like, there's legitimately nothing racist about this whatsoever. And I don't even understand how the writer of this article is agreeing that it's racist. I'm not seeing literally fucking anything that indicates that whatsoever. Like, if you think about it, being accused of being a racist, that is a pretty major accusation to make against somebody. And maybe we could, I don't know, hold off calling people fucking racists and saying shit like that until there's actually proof that they're legitimately fucking racist. I don't get why we're at this point in time where just because you think that you're smart, you're somehow racist when there's nothing fucking behind it whatsoever. You think that you're smart. That's cool. That's great. I mean, you even suggest, the person writing this suggests that they're smart. Because they say, oh, well, I always scored high on standardized tests. And yeah, I agree. Standardized tests aren't 100% accurate. They're not going to define a person's intelligence right down to the wire. But from my personal experience, the people who did extremely well on these standardized tests were genuinely some of the smartest people that I knew. Just because it doesn't 100% measure an accurate result for intelligence or anything, doesn't mean that there's not pieces of yourself that you can find from things like that. If you're able to adapt to constant school, institutionalized scores and testing and all these different stressful fucking factors that you have to deal with in school, I would say you're a pretty smart person. Because it's something about you that allows you to adapt to those situations better than other people. You're picking up on patterns a lot easier than other people. You're rationalizing these questions better than other people. Sure, not 100% accurate, but does it say something? Yeah, I think it does to a certain extent. And so what, it's racist because you did good on standardized tests for him to assume that the genetics are smart? That sounds like a very common thing that people would say. People always love to hype out how smart they are, right? Hype up how good of parents they would be or whatever. It's part of human nature. You're supposed to be somewhat confident in yourself. I mean, who wants to go around their whole life saying, well, maybe we shouldn't have any kids because we're kind of fucking stupid? I mean, more people probably should have that mentality because in reality, a lot of people should not be parents, but it's just almost like these people here, like, that are crying out racism about literally everything. Like, I'm specifically talking about the people writing articles like this. They're specifically trying to find shit so that they can be offended about, so that they can generate a reaction and get attention. I'm starting to think that this shit is like legitimate clout chasing, as in like a fucking industry, because there's no way people are really thinking this kind of dumb shit, right? So what do you do, Optimus? I don't know. I mean, if it's really that big of a deal to you, then I guess break up or divorce. I mean, I don't see why it has to go that far, but I mean, at the end of the day, if that's what you really think is the best option or outcome for your relationship, fuck it. It's not mine. Go ahead and do whatever. But when you realize that you lost out on a partner who was willing to give you children and have a great, happy family with you, and you now have to go through the entire process of finding someone new, all because you simply couldn't process the possibility of an opinion change, you really come out to be the loser. You know what I'm saying? Because this guy, if he really is about these kids, he's going to have them regardless. It doesn't matter if it's with you or if it's with somebody better. He's going to find that option. So with that being said, though, thank you guys for watching. If you did enjoy, make sure to leave a like, subscribe if you're brand new around here at the channel. Follow me over on Twitter and Twitch at @SubTheOptimus. Make sure to check out Shop Opti down below. And until my next video, guys, this is Optimus. Well, this is stupid as fuck. And signing out.